I'm gonna get there. I'm not in this world to live up to your expectation. Neither are you in to live up to mine. I don't owe no one, no obligation. No one owes me none, so everything is fine, fine. I said I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. I am that I am, I am, I am, I am. Serious business. There is a time for everything, and for everything there is a season. So man and man must reason. So I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused. So relax your mind, make sure everything is fine while I take you down a poetic line. Trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. You now refrain. I remember you say Liberation Day, and I ask, you sure is that you wanna say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And deception is a powerful thing when you lose your rightful thinking. So we voted for the bling. But you trick us with campaign promise.
And a good night to you, Grenada, Carriacou, and Petit Martinique. Once again, it is time for Talking Points. My name is Sheldon Scott. I'll be here with you up until the 10 o'clock hour. It's now 3 minutes after the hour of 8 on the Spice Isle of Grenada, Eastern Caribbean time.
Teeth get yellow, house get yellow, bus get yellow, man get yellow, even green get yellow, and so says 11-4. When you trick us.
Indeed, it has been a beautiful Tuesday on the Isle of Spice.
That's the way it is.
A little bit of sun, a little bit of rain. We got a nice mix in it. Saying a special good night to all of you joining us via the various media.
But you don't know what to go get.
Those of you who have joined us over on YouTube. Those of you who have joined us via Facebook.
Created by the great Jehovah. So the green grass ceased to grow to allow the yellow vibes to.
Hope that you all have been having a wonderful night tonight.
Boy, one song I sing, one bell a ring. If we didn't know, we never know yellow would have treat us so. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease.
Yeah, and several issues to get in tonight, and I believe we've sorted out the phone line, so we'll be opening the phone line a little bit later.
You now refrain. They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame.
Yeah, you understand, huh?
Frustration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption.
You know, before I get into any of the other issues, I just want to say this. To members of the new National Party and so, yeah? Not because election was a few months ago, means that you end your political work, you know. Yeah, registration is still important. Realize nearly nobody going and register and that sort of thing. Registration is still very important. Yeah? Getting those who have just turned 18 to go and register, and those who may not have registered for the last election, and now they're sorry that they did not, because what they take, those individuals get them to register too. So registration is still important, you know.
Oh, soon. Maybe by the next full moon.
If you're an activist, you're not an activist sometime, you're an activist all the time. So you need to get out there and get your people registered. Also keep them informed.
Green people with the vexed face.
Don't be afraid to speak up and speak out, you know.
Promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way.
Some of them just feel like it frighten people, or they could scare you from talking and all that kind of thing.
You now refrain. Busy governing, busy managing.
And the reason they don't want you to talk is simply because when they are lying, when they are out there giving all those lies, and you come out with the truth, they don't want people to know the truth. They want to be in an echo chamber where you're only hearing one thing over and over and over and over. They don't want you listen to anything else. They don't want you hear anything else because they want to control your mind.
We won't say you tease, that's the way it is. We've waited in vain.
So don't give them that power over you. Make sure that you speak up and speak out. You can't be afraid to speak. If you're afraid to speak up and speak out, it says a lot about the Grenada that we are in right now. Because during the new National Party's time, people didn't have to be afraid to speak up and speak out. Anybody said they was afraid to speak up and speak out, they lie. Because when you listen to the radio programs, when you saw on the internet, they said all sorts of things about the former prime minister. They said all sorts of things about former ministers and so. They said all kind of things. They wasn't afraid to come out and talk and say things. But now, if you, because the shoe is on the other foot now, if you try to say something, they want to tell you have to hush. And if you did not, ignorant statements like, oh, is now you know that, or you had a chance to do that, and all that sort of thing.
Is it the same, Jonah? Lots of doubt.
Just taking all the discussion away from the issue itself. So you may come and you say the issue is A, and you're discussing A. And they would come, because they don't have anything to add to the discussion about how to achieve A, they're going to come and say, well, oh, you was there, you could have achieved A and you didn't achieve it. That's a dunce statement, yeah? Yes, totally idiotic and dunce.
We won't stay a tease, that's
Void of common sense.
we've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain. So yellow people say, next election, not me stain that finger, cause after we say enough from Jonah, here comes still with more pressure and hunger. And from the mouth of Grenada, only one thing I utter.
And let me say a special good night to the workers of the Grenada Port Authority.
So drink your bush home if
You realize that there's still an issue down there, and it's a serious issue, huh? Because remember, a lot of our food, the majority of our food outside of the fruits and vegetables, and even some of those are imported. So it means a lot of stuff, even medication, all these things come into the country and they come through the port. So when there's a problem and the port ceases operation, it's a serious problem for all of us, not just for some people, not just for the people working on the port. It's a serious problem for all of us. And it's something that I think any government worth its salt would try and deal with. But you see, when one member of the government involved in why it happened anyhow.
I'm just practicing to be a poet, not qualified.
Yeah, or they must investigate and inquire as to why what took place. That is all you had to do. You understand? Because it has something to do with an individual being dismissed. And that individual was dismissed after several investigation took place into various allegations. And you all remember what the allegations were earlier this year? Did those allegations, let me ask the question, did those allegations include somebody who is now a sitting government minister? So let's just, the press release from the Grenada Port Authority, it says the Grenada Ports Authority seeks the understanding of the general public for the delay in operations which started yesterday and continues today as it works through an industrial relations matter that has arisen. The Grenada Port Authority routinely audits its procedures to ensure compliance and to manage risk. During a recent routine audit, it was discovered that there were some irregularities with the procedure used to authorize exit passes. It was also apparent that the breach in procedure adversely impacted the Grenada Port Authorities and the state of Grenada's revenue, policies, and procedures. The matter was referred to an investigative government department for a comprehensive probe, following which a report was submitted to the Grenada Ports Authority. Based on the findings, the Grenada Port Authority conducted an internal hearing into the matter with the individual who was central to the breach of procedure, which, with the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union, GTAU, representation. The Grenada Port Authority is of the view that the actions of the individual were synonymous with gross negligence and was considered a summary offense under the disciplinary provision of the collective bargaining agreement with GTAU. Subsequently to the internal hearing, a decision was made to terminate the employment of the individual based on the severity of the transgression pursuant to the summary offense protocols enshrined within the said agreement. The Grenada Ports Authority action is consistent with the articles, procedures, and principles of the collective bargaining agreement and asserts management's authority to take corrective action when and where necessary. This is to ensure compliance with established operational procedures that minimizes risks to the Grenada Port Authority's operations. The Grenada Port Authority regrets the inconvenience caused to the general public and business community at this most inappropriate time. However, management cannot compromise on its fiduciary responsibility to the state of Grenada. The Grenada Port Authority calls on its workers to return to the performance of their duties and to the GTAU to operate under the terms of the collective agreement. And that's by the management of the Grenada Ports Authority. That was sent out today, the 15th of November. Yeah, that was sent out today.
Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration.
So yeah, remember it says here, it was discovered that there were some irregularities with the procedure used to authorize exit passes. Yeah, so the story that is alleged is that it had a certain company whose trucks used to go onto the port and collect goods. And then in the dark of night, the trucks could leave the port without paying what they had to pay. That is the accusation, and an investigation took place. And from all intents and purposes, due to what the Port Authority is saying here, that investigation proved that the allegations were not allegations, that exit passes were being issued to organizations and allowing them to leave the port without paying the port fee. Right? And it's affecting all of us now, because now operations on the port, I know several people, they have things that have come in, they have barrel, they have different things, and they can't collect it. In fact, I heard earlier today of one situation where there is a particular vessel that is in Grenadian waters to offload their cargo. Basically Christmas stuff, the stuff that different businesses and so bring in for the Christmas, that they are here to offload, and they can't offload. And if they are not able to offload by a particular time, that vessel may have to leave Grenadian waters and return in a few weeks. So it means that those businesses will be devoid of the items to the Christmas period, and even individuals who may have personal items in containers, they will be devoid of the items to the Christmas period. Yeah? So, I mean...
Refrain, you now refrain. So we've heard about your internal division, but some can't digest that one. Remember the man say he's an asset to the party?
Let me say a special good night to you, Kathy Albert. Hope you're having a good night tonight.
Maybe they're cloned.
Hope it's not too cold in your neck of the woods. Zingo, a good night to you, my brother.
Just before the next ballot. But you guys will have to come real good, because it's a long time.
Let me say a special good night to you, Amy, and all my family out there in Brooklyn. Let me say a special good night to you all. I know my family always has my back, you know, if it's one thing. It's bad for me.
Refrain, you now refrain. You remember in the Bible, God had a plan for Jonah to restore Nineveh. But who will restore Grenada? Is it the same Jonah? Lots of doubt, so I'm running up my mouth.
So yeah, so we know what some of the allegations were involving a specific government minister, present sitting government minister, in this whole debacle. We know what the allegations were a few months ago, and now we're seeing one person losing their job. I wonder if they will get a job somewhere on the Carolina.
That's the way it is.
They might get a job in one of them new ministry. You never know where they might get a job. But they lose that job.
So you got people say, next election, not me stain that finger. Because after we say enough from Jonah, here comes still with more pressure and hunger. And from the mouth of Grenada, only one thing I utter.
Yeah, saying a special good night to all of you listening outside of Grenada. Seeing all of you logging in one after the other. Yeah. Saying a special good night to all of you listening outside of Grenada. Those of you listening inside of Grenada.
December. So what we are doing from January to November? Suck salt and drink now as water. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay at ease. That's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you're not refrain. You now refrain.
So not Sheldon say so. No, don't go and say Sheldon Scott that say so. No, the Grenada Ports Authority says so. I'll post this onto the Talking Points page a little later on. But it says, and this is the important paragraph, you know, the Grenada Port Authority routinely audits its procedures to ensure compliance and to manage risk. During a recent routine audit, it was discovered that there were some irregularities with the procedure used to authorize exit passes. So thing was exiting that shouldn't be exiting at the time they was exiting. They had to exit, but not at the time they was exiting and the way they was exiting. It was also apparent that the breach in procedure adversely impacted the Grenada Port Authorities and the state of Grenada's revenue, policies, and procedures. Yeah. I say not me say so. The Grenada Port Authority that say so.
This is not politics.
You see why they really, yeah, they don't like when we talking, because they wouldn't tell you that. They would not read a release like that for you and tell you what I just told you. Nah, they ain't going. They ain't telling you them thing there.
Live up to your expectation. Neither are you in to live up to mine.
So folks, remember Budget Day, the 7th of December. I'm looking forward to the budget, you know. I always look forward to budgets. Want to hear what's in the budget, you know? Because I said last night, and I'll repeat again, I know they don't like to hear that, nothing that's being done now is being done by the NDC administration. It's all from the NNP budget that was done last year, that provided the funding, the guidance, the direction, and the programs that are now being implemented at the time they were due to be implemented just by another government. So when budget is read, then we'll really see the direction that the NDC administration is going. But so far, they ain't impressing me.
There is a time.
I mean, some people easy to impress, you know. You could just tell them anything and do anything and they're easy to impress. I'm not easy to impress.
So, I think it's prime time that we address some more issues. Simple information I will use. No rocket science to get you confused.
I think gratuity is supposed to be paid tomorrow or so. Looking forward to see everybody that had to get a money get a little kakara. Yeah. I hoping everybody get the local kakara that's supposed to get the local kakara. Yes, indeed.
You sure is that you want to say? Cause you sounded so good to believe. And deception is a powerful thing when you lose your rightful thinking. So we voted for the bling. But you trick us with campaign promises. We won't say a tease, that's the way it is. We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain. But you now refrain, you now refrain. Yellow, yellow, all the way is what everybody say. Cell phone ring, man answering. Yellow, yellow, no hello. Teeth get yellow, house get yellow, bus get yellow, man get yellow, even green get yellow, and so says 11-4.
So folks, remember to share the live. Yes, share the live.
That's the way.
Share it. And those of you on YouTube, subscribe to the page, man. So every time we go live, you'll know.
Refrain, you now refrain. Old school parables say you know.
So subscribe.
Know what you go get. So cherish what you have to diminish regret. But what on earth lasts forever? Not even things created by the great Jehovah. So the green grass ceased to grow to allow the yellow vibes to flow. But boy, one song I sing, one bell I ring. If we didn't know, we never know yellow that.
And what I'm going to do, I'm going to read that press release a little later on. I'm going to read it again. For those of you that may have missed it.
We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain.
Kind finally gains circulation and thing. Yeah, I want a little hear what was said, man.
They began with the blame game, giving NNP more fame. Past administration, the cause of frustration. Past administration, chief of corruption. Then to economic recession, we can't give you attention. Economic recession, the cause of poverty in the land. Economic recession, no employment for the ordinary man. When you trick us with campaign promises, we won't stay.
I'm just making sure I have my information on point when I'm saying things here. So if you see that every now and again I'm just playing a little song, Yeah, just gain my thing. Yeah.
Country going, oh, fine, fine, fine. We are looking into it. We are looking into it. Never mind, never mind. Only projects in pipeline. No water to cool down the yellow temperature. When will they start?
Yeah, so I see there's a press release from the government that's saying that the retroactive pension and gratuity payments are going to start. Let me see when. As of today, yeah. The first tranche of payments was made to over 300 retirees in the amount of $44.1 million. All you better call Granny and Grandpa. Hey.
We've waited in vain, hoping you'll ease the strain, but you now refrain.
I'm glad that these people have received their money.
Busy politicking, busy neglecting, busy inflicting poverty and hunger throughout Grenada. 1,000 Frenchmen can never.
After all, they work for that already, you know. The gate now.
Conviction strong. So why not send them advisors home?
So 44.1 million paid today.
And rehire the Imanis. Less stress on the economy. You are Manchester, whole of the country. You don't see us.
But you see, the problem I have is that a lot of people were given the impression and fooled into believing that they had pensions to collect. So I mean, I'm listening to some of the forums, and you're seeing people who clearly, to those in the know, do not qualify for pension. And those individuals are asking about their pension and gratuity. And these individuals either A, were not working directly with government, or were on contract, or did not make the required number of years. Some of these people, not even in the public service, you know. You're talking about some people in the private sector that thought that this pension thing was something that they're going to get too. So some of them, not a lot, but some of them voted thinking that they're going to get a pension too. So 44.1 million, let me see how much are you all getting out of it as well. I'm glad to see those who are getting, I'm glad to know that they are getting it. Nice. But let's see. All right. Let's see how this progresses. All right. Nice. Somebody tell me, wanted me to play a tune when I come here today. Let me see if I could find that tune. Yeah, you know, before I go to that, there's an interesting press release that I'm seeing here. It's in relation to the Honorable Karine James. She's attending COP27, that meeting that's taking place in Egypt right now. And wow, a delegation of 6 of them that are going up there. Yeah, man, it's more than a delegation. Yeah, whole plane now. Hell is that? I hope that's a funded trip, you know? Because I seen a name inside there. Yeah? So let me call out the names of who gone on that trip. That trip to Sharm el-Sheikh in Egypt. And that started yesterday and it's been completed over the weekend, the 14th to the 18th of November. Because I'm seeing that the people, the minister is leading a delegation from Grenada comprising of Miss Tira Antwine, Energy Officer, Miss Ray Thomas, the Crown Counsel, Dr. Spencer Thomas, and Leon Charles, Climate Negotiators, Ms. Giovanna Hoshtialik, Youth Representative, and Mr. Jerry Eno, a board member of the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority. You understand? The other program, they say, go Jerry. Because I want to ask a question. Out of those names there, is the minister living in the same house with one of those people that on that trip? And how that individual that's on the same trip with the minister, who, let me say, might be in a close personal relationship with the minister, how that person end up on the Grenada Solid Waste Management Authority that she's in charge of? No, these are the kind of things that the New National Party would have been cussed for, you know. If I was the minister and I say I go in somewhere and I bring my girlfriend with me, that would be a problem. Yeah? I would end up in Parang. My name would have, not that I doesn't end up in Parang anyway, but my name would have end up all over. I couldn't take my girlfriend and decide I put it on a board. And they ball, you know. They ball. They put out the thing. Eh? They put out the thing, you know. So I want to know, what is the relationship between that particular individual who is on that trip with the minister? And how they end up there was because remember, when it came to the boards, different boards and so on, there was an announcement for all interested people to apply to go on boards. There's an announcement by the Prime Minister at the point in time, asking for all people who are interested in serving on boards and so on to submit their names and their qualifications and so on, which board they would like to sit on. But it doesn't seem as though that was looked at, because if ministers looking in their own house to take out people and place on a board and then take them and put them only on the board and now to put them on a plane and take them to Egypt with them, then what all these people submit the name for? What these people end up going and submit the name for if that is what taking place? No, it's very interesting. I'm just asking the question. What's the relationship between one of these things is not like the other? Which one is different? Do you know? Can you guess which one is not like the other? And I'll tell you if it is so. Because one of these people stands out in particular. 6 people, they gone to Egypt. Well, I really hope it was a funded trip. Seriously, I really hope it was a funded trip, because you understand.
People balling motor, while some others mad. The people they vote for shirting them bad. They just feel to cause them when they see them pass. Or just take a big stone and knock down their ass. But I have a therapy I'm willing to share. Anytime the pressure get too much to bear, I have a new dance, it is the formula. Once you do it, I know you must feel better. So give me a minute or two, let me explain the dance to you. Just a simple demonstration, it is very easy to learn. Put your hand in the air like this, close your finger and make a fist. Let go your tongue, put it in the air. Wave it like you ain't care. Anytime you see them MP, do it for them to see. And if they ask you what that means, tell them the dance you do it is one time. One time. I want all you to take a chance. Show them the one time dance. One time. One time. Put your thumb up and then balance. Show them the one time dance. If you hardly don't see MP, anytime you're checking me busy, Peter David always flying.
Yeah, folks, I'm just checking my audio. Yeah, I think I've solved that problem now. I was having a little screeching problem there, and I think it's gone now. Nice. Folks, I'll get to your comments in a little while, because I have... You realize there's about 5 different screens I have in front of me that I have to pay attention to. So I'll get to the comments in a short while. Also be opening the phone lines in the next half hour.
Anytime they fret you, really get you vexed, make you feel you want to cut out your index. You just have to lead them. Do their stupidness, don't make it a problem. Just go on.
And I was going over some the news. I usually read a lot in the daytime, and I realized today that there is a story out in, let me just get it, the New York Post. Yeah, the New York Post. That very, very well respected publication, where they're speaking about wealthy Russians applying for Grenadian passports in order to avoid getting drafted to go and fight in the Ukrainian war. Yeah. And we would remember that in February, when the war started up, the invasion of Ukraine started, that the then NNP administration, first of all, issued a release calling on both parties to try and resolve things amicably. Yeah? Have to fix the bench and thing. Nice. To resolve things amicably. After that, the next thing is that the new National Party administration placed a ban on people from Russia and Belarus, and I believe even Ukraine, from applying for passports and applying under the Citizenship by Investment program. And this was in line with what all other countries in the region were doing. Dominica was doing it like that. I believe outside of Dominica, you had St. Lucia, St. Kitts, and so on. All the regional countries that have the CBI programs. They stopped people from Russia and Belarus and Ukraine from applying because some of these people were either under sanction by the United States and so, or were ending up in a situation where they would be under sanction in the near future. So you didn't want a situation where an individual who has been involved in some sort of atrocity out there in Ukraine ending up holding a Grenadian passport. Because then remember, that's what's going to be tied to that individual out there. That so-and-so is a war criminal and they have a Grenadian passport. So you were trying to avoid that. So the government of Grenada, I believe that was in either March or May, somewhere down there. March, April or May, one of those months, stopped selling passports to, or allowing people to apply for passports who were from Russia, Ukraine, and Belarus. Then, the New National Party lost the general election in June. And in same June, not even 2 weeks, the incoming administration, I don't even think they had a proper minister in place yet outside of the prime minister. And it was reinstituted. They can't say the NNP do it because the NNP wasn't in office. It was reinstituted. And if they wanted to say that it was done and the NNP do it, then they had all that time to stop it, to issue again, because they still can't go to Dominica and get one. They still can't go to St. Kitts and get a passport. But they're able to make an application with a minimum investment of $150,000 here, and or buy real estate here to the cost of $350,000, and then they could obtain a Grenadian passport. Because remember, the Grenadian passport, according to this article, and you all should check the New York Post, there is that article there in relation to, and even Bloomberg News picked up the story as well, where wealthy Russians, I think they said for the last few months, close to 200, they have been trying to get into Grenada. Yeah, they're talking about Polish people and all kind. We go talk about them thing in a time. And I tell you, some people who talking about who fund who, better know that it has some of us here who know who fund them. Yeah? And which country they're from, everything. Could give them names and they can't say no. They can't say no. Right? But it says here passport holders can travel without a visa to over 100 destinations, including China, the United Kingdom, and Europe's Schengen area. It would also give them access to the US, which has an investor treaty with Grenada that allows citizens to apply for non-immigrant visa. And Grenada is one of the only countries that has that treaty with the United States that allows its citizens to apply for non-immigrant visas. Other countries do have that, you know. Many other countries do that. Grenada is one of the only countries that has that. And then we've seen that as of right now, it seems as though there may be an escalation. We're hoping not, because several rockets ended up in Poland. And Poland is part of NATO. So now there's an investigation that has started to find out if it was willfully done, if Russia fired those rockets into Poland willfully, or if it was accidental. And so it seems as though the conflict is going to another stage, because now NATO, and they've said this for several months, that anytime it gets to the stage where a single inch of NATO soil is attacked, that NATO will join the fray. And it's never a good thing when two sides with nuclear weapons want to fight. It's never a good, and it's not only two in that, you know, because about 3 or 4 of the countries involved, they have nuclear weapons. So it's a very tense time right now in that region, with the 2 rockets that landed and killed at least one individual out in Poland. And you know what that means? More pressure again, because if this escalates, you know who is going to feel it? The poor man down here. And don't come and tell us anything about, oh, you come and you take out what? What is the take out again? You come and you take out freight. Because freight only helps your friends. Your friends have not been passing it on to the average person here. They have not been passing it on. If they were passing it on, from the moment that there was the announcement that the freight charges were removed, not removed, but rolled back. Let me correct it, rolled back to the 2019 level. Have you all saw a price in the drop of food? Have you seen the prices drop in relation to food? Have you seen food prices going down? Or are you still realizing that every time you go to the supermarket or the corner shop or wherever you go to, that the prices are still going up and up and up and up? Because that's what's happening. The prices just keep going up. Because the businesses, they were asked to pass it on. They were asked to pass it on to the consumers. But remember, these are businesses that have been having a hard time for the last couple of years due to COVID. They haven't been able to get supplies. The supply chain has been messed up. The price of inputs has increased from fuel, etc. Electricity, everything has gone up. So they're not seeing where they could make a little profit and they could answer to their board members and say that, look, we have a board of directors and here we have had a profit for this year. They're not going to give up anything that could give them that profit. So to think that businesses would give that up is infantile in nature. They're running a business, not a charity. But yet still, take out the freight charges. All right, take out the freight charges. We are happening with that one. We are happening with that one. Yeah, as I say, I read this book before, I know what the ending does look like.
To roots, remember we tradition. For this Kambule, Chambalasi ruling this time. Yes, we everywhere, taking it from the grapevine. We breaking all rules with fun, picong and rhyme. If the campaign didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't have say, oh, me mad bad, no to pay to pass in the yard.
Yeah, let me say a special good night to those of you out there on the YouTube. I'm seeing Natalia and Ann, Wilma, Kathy, Casimir. I'm seeing Hillary, seeing Stephanie. I'm seeing all of you out there on the chat. Let me say a special good night to all of you and those of you over on the Facebook. Let me just see if I could grab the Facebook there. Now, where you go? Yes, all right. Yeah, Betty and Alicia and all of you there on the chat. Let me say a special good night to all of you and hope that you all are having a wonderful night tonight.
We love honesty. With it, we must succeed.
Yeah, so you remove freight, but freight is not benefiting the poor man. If you have decided that you're going to look at the VAT structure, the structure of VAT on certain items, I could understand that. And I could applaud that. So I'm looking forward. I want to hear, really seriously, I want to hear what's in the budget. I'm going to be paying attention. In fact, you know what? I feel like going up there. Yeah, I feel budget they are going up and sit down and listen and think too. Yeah, I want the TV camera and then passing. I want to go and talk too. I want to go and stand up in front of the camera and say thing too. Yeah, what I think about the budget. They know me, they know I'm a belly, they know me afraid that.
For this Kambule, Chambalasi ruling this time.
Yeah, some of them want to cut off the finger. What you want to cut off the finger for? You're going to need that finger. You want to end up with 3 fingers and a thumb? No! Leave it there. You're going to need it again. You might even need it sooner than later. Take what I'm telling you.
If the campaign didn't pass in the yard, they wouldn't have say, oh, me mad bad, no to pay to pass in the yard.
And let would say a special good night to all of the NDCites who have joined in tonight. See you all in your glee.
Only 1 year later,
You're out and about. I'm saying a special good night to each and every one of you. Good night, Curtis. Well, he's not NDCite. I ain't know who he is. I'm just saying a special good night to Curtis. I ain't calling him that. Nice.
the wind sing down
Yeah, so don't look at this thing just like that with the passport, you know, because now, remember, the New York Post is a well-respected publication. They're reaching literally hundreds of millions of people on a daily basis. And that article about Grenada is there in the New York Post, speaking about all these wealthy Russians coming here. Now, I have no problem with anybody from any country coming to Grenada once they stay within the borders, you understand? No problem with anybody from any country coming into Grenada. But that doesn't mean that the US doesn't have a problem and that it doesn't make it much, much more difficult for Grenadians to be able to obtain a visa. That doesn't mean, because they would do that as punishment, you know, put restrictions on Grenada. Because only Grenada reinstituted. And it wasn't even a good 7 days after the NDC won the last election. Not even a good 7 days after that, it was reinstituted. Which leads me to believe that you never know, you know. Next thing somebody had to find a way to say thanks. Because all of a sudden, I mean, all the other CBI countries in the region leave the ban on. Up to now, up to today, the 15th of November 2022, the ban is still on in the other territories. But Grenada ban removed? Well, maybe somebody was saying thanks. Somebody was giving somebody a handshake. You never know. Could it be a golden handshake asking a question? Because they like to accuse. And as I said, if you want to have that discussion, we could have a discussion. There could be a longer discussion, a wider discussion into the issue of campaign financing. Instead of trying these diversionary tactics, we can have a wider discussion into campaign funding so that nobody can just fly to Florida and pick up with the pickup and come down. Yeah? Nobody can fly to Florida and pick up with the pickup and come down. And nobody from Eastern Europe can put a little 100 grand, 200 grand into your account. But you're talking about what other people may or may not have gotten, but you ain't talking about what you got for sure. So if they want to have a wide discussion, and I think that's the area, you can have a wide discussion into the area and the issue of campaign financing. I'm all for it. If they want to have that, no problem. I'm also all for a proper committee to look at wages and salaries in Grenada. I have no problem with that. But for the members of cabinet to just sit down and decide that, hey, forget the cleaners in the ministerial complex who have to work hell hard to clean the ministerial complex, or the secretaries who go through a lot of stress, or the field workers in different ministries who spend a lot of time out there, or even police officers, or nurses, or doctors. Instead of looking at them and saying, well, look, maybe we have to increase the salary for them. They increase the salary for themselves, and at a point in time when they didn't even spend, they had not even spent a full 8 weeks good yet. You're on probation still, you know? For 3 months you're on probation. Before the 3 months could done. Before the 3 months could done, you increase your salary. Everybody that working know about it. You're on probation for a period of time, and then you start to work. You continue working, but you start to work in a permanent sense, and you get a different salary and that kind of thing. But even before that. So that's why I'm saying that if you want to deal with the issues of wages, you find that government ministers are receiving too low a salary, because in Grenada they're receiving one of the lowest in the region. But the New National Party ministers stay with it for 9 years. 9 years. But you couldn't spend 3 months. NNP ministers, 9 years. You refuse to work for that even for 3 months. That says a lot. And then when people talk about it, they send out their tun makut. Yeah. They send out their cyber tun makut. You mustn't say nothing. Hush. Who is you to talk? But look the microphone. Come on, pull it from my mouth. They don't want you to talk. But I always say, be not afraid. Folks, we're going to open the phone lines in a short while.
We live in a time when the rulers of men are scornful of principles of godliness, wisdom, and freedom. But
How the desperate so they're trying to report the talking points page. All the desperate so are you so afraid of me, man? Are you so afraid of the information that's coming out here? If I'm lying, all you all have to do, don't attack me, go out and attack what I say. If a minister didn't travel with she boyfriend, if she didn't take she boyfriend and put him on a board that is under her ministry, and take she boyfriend and travel with him along with 5 other people, then say a lie. Say a lie. Don't go on. You reporting my page. You want them to try and take down the page. Papa. All you have a lot of work to do. No. All you have a lot of work to do. Are you afraid? No, don't afraid. Oh, what, you thought we would not know? So you all reporting the page. You want Facebook to shut down the page? You want YouTube to shut down the page? Good luck with that.
we live in a time when the rulers of men are scornful of principles of godliness.
So remember, if you end up getting problems when you're going for your visa, you can't blame the NNP. It's not we start to take Russians in the middle of the war and give them, and people who could end up under sanctions. They may not be under sanction when they get it, but they could end up under sanction later in the same day. They could end up under sanction no time after that, a week after that, a month after that. They end up under sanction. And due to that, it is said that this person is the holder of a Grenadian passport. So we have to be careful. And then remember, as I told you, when they're going to do the whole program on the citizenship by investment program, they choose the one day in the week when Grenadians are all over. When you go into Grenville on a Friday evening, people liming all over the place. They're going to take a little drink by a little bar, they by the road, stand up, making a little old talk in the community. They go by the local bar in the community. They go by the little barbecue side, by way who barbecuing and thing, and they make a little line, they buy a drink, they get a piece of barbecue. They hanging out. Or they head down to the south of the island. And they down in Lansapine, they go on by Junction, Bree, wherever. They go on by Lavo Lane. They liming down by Wall Street. Or they just moving from place to place. So they chose that time when they knew everybody going out and hang, to have a citizenship by investment program thing on live on GIS television and online. And what they do? They type out questions to try and embarrass the NNB and hand the questions to some young people in the crowd to read. Type out the questions, Type it out. They didn't even write it. They type it out and hand it out to some young people to come out and read. That is what they did. Because they didn't want you to know that during the period of the new National Party that the CBI program received top grades, top ranking. I don't know if it could be able to maintain that with the present situation, where you might end up with some people under sanctions holding a Grenadian passport. Uncle Tilly, what are you saying about that? I ain't find use a man always talking them thing up me. Quiet on this one. Uncle Tilly went and imagine they pull Uncle Tilly out to talk about money for a party, political party in a bank account, you know. They pull Uncle Tilly out to talk about that, you know. Ah, man. That's the last person you're supposed to bring to come and talk about that, because he should have been able to say, listen, all political parties receive assistance from different people. That is what he had to do. But I wonder what he has to say about a government minister. A government minister taking their significant other and bringing them on a trip with them like if it's a honeymoon. Is honeymoon they going on? Or nation business? And how does such an individual who lives in the same house with you and is your significant other end up on a board in your ministry? How does that happen? Especially if you had, 4,000 they said? How much thousand people apply to go on boards? And then you still end up with one person on 3 and 4 boards. And don't come and say that the NNP did it. Yes, I was on more than one board. I made sure that the first working day after, I resigned from the boards. You know why? Because that's what I believe should be done. I always remember Lamel Stanislaus, the late Lamel Stanislaus, that's his proper name, yeah. Diplomat. And every time government change, he would submit his resignation. Either they take it or they leave it. They tell him we'd like it to continue, that kind of thing. And that's how I believe things should go. Me waiting for nobody to come and tell me, no, you do it that way. That's what I believe is a decent way and the proper way to do things. That's how I believe. Some people may say, no, let them tell me go. Right? But I still want to find out how that one happened. Because if you have all these thousands of people, how it is still your executive members of your party that end up on them boards. And some of them have to be on 2 and 3. So you tell me the 4,000 people, all of them incompetent? All these people apply to go on boards and things and they're incapable, they're incompetent to go and sit on a board to represent, so that you have to take people in your own house to put? No, that is something that them talk about. If it was the new National Party doing that, you would have heard what was going on. Let NNP do anything like that, you would have heard what was going on. They would have attack. You would not have arrest. Your name must have passed in Parang. But no, they could do it and get away with it because number one, you NNPites staying too quiet. Some are unu like you're afraid to talk. And with the NDCites, I know it's shame. That is why they're afraid to talk. They're shame. They don't know how to talk. Mutitis take them. Yeah, they're going on mute. They have a serious case of mutitis. All of them that used to be saying this is wrong and that is wrong and that is wrong. Right now for them, wrong is right and right is wrong. And then the typical excuses, NNP used to do that too. That's a standard excuse. NNP used to do that. It is void of intellect. It is void of intelligence. It is void of common sense. It is void of morality. It is void of everything. Just say NNP used to do it too. But if you were fundamentally against something, and then you get the opportunity to do the same thing, and then you do it, you're nothing else but a hypocrite. The good thing with the new National Party is that they had to change them out now that they're in opposition. The same things that the NNP was saying to you several months ago is the same thing that the NNP is saying to you now. So they had to change them out and say things different. But here's what. Let's open the phone lines. We're going to go to the phone lines. The phone number 440-7377. That's 440-7377. And for those of you outside of Grenada who would like to call in, 1-347-329-3101. So we're leaving the phone lines open. You can call when you're ready. 1-347-329-3101. That's for those of you outside of Grenada. And for those of you inside Grenada who want to call, 440-7377. So you can give a call if you like. Yeah? Nice.
of men, as scornful of principles of godliness, wisdom and freedom.
Yeah, and don't let anybody scare you into feeling that you have to hush. Because you see, that's the thing. They're loud. They're out there, and as soon as you call and you make a point on a program, they want about 6 of them want to call after and say, oh, you're stupid, and it's now you know that, and all kind of thing. Don't be afraid of them. Don't be afraid of them. Make your point. Yeah? Make your point. Because with them just coming and say that, they just make everybody know that they can't respond to what it is you say, so they respond to you and the circumstances in which you say it. Because they cannot respond to that which you have said. So don't be afraid.
In order to maintain power against the very forces of nature, they need to have the citizens living in fear. Man, but be not afraid, for there is your enemy. A man afraid to speak of what oppresses him, enslave himself to a man just like him.
And again, with what is taking place in Poland right now, there runs the possibility of, again, food prices and so going up even more. Because if it is found that Russia willfully attacked Poland, you are running the risk of an escalation of what is taking place over there right now. You're running the risk now of NATO becoming involved in the war that is taking place in Ukraine. Because they have stated, in fact, President Biden only a few weeks ago stated that they are committed to defending every inch of NATO territory. Now, part of NATO territory has been bombed and civilians killed on NATO territory. And the response from the Russians have been, it's not them, and it's not even their missile that do that. It's not them. They have denied it. They haven't said, well, it's us and it's an accident. They said, well, it's not we. We know nothing about that. But you know that an investigation will take place. They will get the missile fragments. They'll be able to say what type of device it was and so. And you know, they're always watching everywhere in those places. They'll be able to tell you where it come from too. And they'll be able to tell you if it was a missile that was fired and anti-aircraft or whatever, or knock it off course and it end up in Poland, or if it was aimed at Poland. They'll be able to tell you all of that, you know. And according to the responses that coming out of that, there's a possibility now that you're running into an escalation. And there's an escalation. Again, remember, a lot of the milk, a lot of the wheat products come from this region, that region. So it's going to affect the price of things like flour. It's going to affect the price of, which affects the price of bread and cakes and all the pastries. When you go to the bakery, whatever it is you're buying, it's going to affect the price of that. It's going to affect the price of drinks because the malt and the beer and these kind of things are also made with wheat products. It's going to affect the price of those things. It's going to affect the price of things like cereals that you're using for your children. Especially the infants and so when you have to buy like the, what they call it, Cerelac? I'm trying to remember the name of the thing. I ain't buy it in so long. Yeah, Javon Big now. I ain't buy that in a long time. But those different cereal and so that you give to your children is going to cause an increase in the price of that. And it's also affecting some of the poorer countries who depend heavily on countries like Ukraine for wheat. And because of what is taking place in the waters out there, it's affecting the price of that as well. But instead of addressing these problems, you have people trying diversion tactics here because they know the possibility is they might end up having to face a by-election in a particular seat. Don't worry, we're going to discuss that over the next few weeks. They might face a by-election in a particular seat. And there are reasons for that. Because they know that, they are trying diversion tactics. Don't try diversion tactics. Deal with the issues. Yes, thank you very much. Similac. Yeah, don't try the diversion tactics. Deal with the issues. The cost of living is a serious issue that Grenadians are concerned about. They're concerned about it. You see people complaining all the time on social media. And when you meet people, you hear them complaining. You meet some people in the line in the supermarket and they have to put back items. They have to put it back. Because they cannot afford the item that is there. They know usually they would take up 2 in this, 1 in that, 4 in that, 3 in that, 1 in that, 1 in that. And that they usually pay, well, let's say they pay 300. They pick up the same things and now they realize they have to pay for something. So they have to put back items. You're hearing people say that they went and they saw an item that was $19, $20 this week. And the following week, they go back and pick up the same item and it's now $30-something. Where's price control? Where's price control in all this? These are the kind of things that the average Grenadian is going through right now. And I really feel it for the ones that don't have a steady source of income. Because when a point in time like Christmas is coming up, whereas the New National Party usually would have put in place several the bushing gangs, so that all now you'd have gangs out doing the bushing and so making their money, so by the time Christmas come, they mightn't be able to afford the ham, but at least they could have some food inside the house. At least they could make the children happy. At least they could not have to bow their head in shame in front of other people because everybody looking nice up the place and thing and they can't do it. So instead of that, you cut down the amount of time that you have the debushing program. So less people would be able to be engaged. Because you can't say that you reduce the amount of time when you could have various gangs. Because if you had 6 weeks, you could have 3 different sets of gangs in different areas over that period. And I'm talking about 3 different sets in a particular area. And multiple gangs then going out. Because you have 3 fortnights. Or you have 4 fortnights or 5 or 6. But instead of that, you reduce it down to nearly nothing. And then to go in a town hall meeting and still have the guts to tell them that the people who in the debushing program should work from 8 to 4. You just understand when people come from poor people, and you just know when people understand what it is like to suffer. You just know. Because a person that understands struggle would have never come to poor people and tell them, you have to work from 8 to 4 in the debushing program. 8 to 4, Because what many people do is that they get a little pankwai with the debushing program, and the team might say, we have to do this 100 yards today, or this 50 yards, or whatever it is we have to do it today. So they come out for 5 o'clock in the morning, they make sure and they do what they have to do, and they complete that by 8 o'clock, so they're done with the task that they have been laid out for the day. And when they finish with that task, then that person can go and take up another job somewhere else, because they can't survive just on the debushing. They can't survive on that. They cannot survive just on that. So these people, after they have gone for 5 o'clock in the morning or so, and they do the little thing, then after that they leave there and they go and they do another job. So they're able to do multiple jobs to try and make ends meet, whether they're going and do construction or whether they're working somewhere else, they're working in some other capacity, whether it's bus they're driving, whatever they're doing, but they make that little money so that they could go and then they could add to what they have. But some people find, no, that shouldn't be happening. They should be working from 8 to 4. And while they're talking about that, whatever happened to the permanent jobs? It is this Prime Minister. Oh God, where my clips on them? I'm going to flash with my clips. It is this Prime Minister that earlier this year in February was saying that how to hire people on temporary contracts is basically illegal. Not me say so. Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell said so. At the point in time, he was leader of the National Democratic Congress. He had no other portfolio outside of that. But Prime Minister, the Honorable Deacon Mitchell, was the one that said that it was wrong to hire people on contract. Nurses who went and signed all your contract. Are you hearing me? All the people who in the ministerial complex on your contract right now, you hearing me? The people in the new ministry who are on contract right now, are you hearing me? It is the present Prime Minister that said that it is basically illegal to keep people on these temporary contracts. Because if there is a job and the job needs to be a permanent job, that you should hire somebody permanently and not hire somebody temporarily on the job. Have we seen that play out? And that's the exact words, Winston. That a stroke, that could be fixed by the stroke of a pen. But I know, like, you can't find a pen right now if you're using a stylus. You can't find a pen. Because I said that could be fixed with the stroke of a pen, you could fix that issue. And now, like, you can't find a pen. Pen disappear. You can't go in Brighton and Miners and get a pen. You have no pen. Because you have the nurses who were called in and they were placed back on contract. That is not what was promised. That is not what was promised. The New National Party was very clear that it was taking a phased approach to how it was bringing nurses into the full service, taking them off a temporary and making them permanent. So there's a phased approach. You take X amount, then you take X amount, and you take X amount. The same thing with teachers. If I remember correctly, last figure I knew was over 400 teachers that were brought off of the temporary where they had to look and wait for a contract every September. Sometimes they miss a few days because they're waiting for the ministry to send a contract for them. They were taken off that and made permanent in the teaching profession. Because there's the impression that's given that the NNP had everybody on contract and wasn't making any moves towards regularizing people. Say what you want about LL. LL made sure that he got a lot of teachers permanent. He negotiated with the government. He did what his constituents, the teachers, as the president of the teachers union, he made sure and did what was asked of him, and he got quite a lot of them. Permanent placement. I know what happened after LL go, all kind of old mass take place and all kind of thing. But you still had teachers that were getting permanent. But there's this impression that's given that NNP wasn't hiring nobody and so. And then after all of that, after they say the Prime Minister makes that statement, the present Prime Minister made that statement when he was just leader of the NDC. And after Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell explained to them that no, if you're going to increase the amount of money that you have to spend on salaries because you have now taken people off the temporary and you've made them permanent and you're increasing the size of the public service, if you're going to do that, you're going to make it unwieldy, especially when 20-something years from now, unless in some instances, you are going to have to pay pension to all these people that you're adding to the public service right now. What you're doing is you're making sure that our children will be bankrupt. Because that's what he's doing. If you're saying that everybody who's in a contract with the government of Grenada right now, you're going to take them off the contract immediately, because as far as the present Prime Minister has said, that is illegal, so you're not supposed to be continuing something. If you know for a fact, and you are the one that brought it to the Grenadian people that that's illegal, and in several forums you said that it is illegal, but yet still you're continuing it. But the last Prime Minister said you try that and you go find out. When he was saying to you that you have to answer to the creditors of Grenada, that you have to answer to the various financial institutions that provide funding to Grenada, that they are looking at if you're increasing expenditure and which areas you're increasing expenditure on. Where it was better to have some persons on a contract where at least they could be receiving a salary, they could be receiving a local kakada every month, instead of sending 4 home and hiring 1. Then you have Sister Claudette Joseph had to come out and admit that Dr. the Right Honorable Keith Mitchell was totally correct in what he was saying. Totally correct. I see a fella sit down next to her and he watching her like, oh God, girl, don't say that now. But she came out and she said it, and I'd like to congratulate her for being honest. Well, you feel like them other people that just attack everybody and say all kind of nasty thing about people. No. But I would like to congratulate her for being honest. And you see now, the New National Party don't have to change the tune because they're in opposition. They don't. They can say the same thing that they were saying in government. But now they're reaching there. And all of a sudden, they're out of the change now. Because all the local Imani and them was looking forward to getting permanent employment. But what some of them getting is they're going to be part of the only successful NDC program, the Send Home program. That is the program that's taking place. The Send Home program. Because a lot of these Imani trainees are going to find themselves in the next couple weeks to months home. Because it has been made clear by the incompetent person that they have as the minister in charge. You know, the fella. He has minister alignment or some kind of thing. Minister taking picture for Facebook or something. I don't know. He has minister youth. Waste of time. Embarrassment regionally. And I know regional youth ministers. Embarrassment. Tweedledee and Tweedledum. He said that they will no longer be assisting with the trainees that are in non-governmental agencies. Because remember, you have some trainees that are working in places and the places are not part of government. So they may be working in a bank. Yeah, there are Imani trainees that are working in bank. In fact, there was an Imani trainee once upon a time that started in a particular bank and ended up as the manager of the same bank that they started as an Imani trainee in. They ended up as the manager of that bank. I ain't gonna call name. But you have Imani people that entered as Imani trainees in the credit unions and in some of the various businesses around town. And they always give this kind of impression that, oh, Imani working, selling in some of the Asian stores around selling clothes. That's not true. Whether it's in NIS or whether it's in some other institution, they have been providing a proper service. And the government of Grenada, to assist the company in wanting to keep this person, because sometimes the company is incapable of keeping that person, but the person is valuable, was assisting the companies by paying part of the salary and the company pay the other part of the salary. Not the government to say they pull in their part. So what the companies go do? In most cases, they're going to tell the people go home. In most cases, that's what they are going to do. Because if the New National Party says you put $35 million there, and that is for a youth program, and you're saying that, oh, you ain't going and put that money back into youth again, then there's a problem. There definitely is a problem. Because what are these people going to do? Many of them have children that are going to school. Many of them, they assist other members of the family. But you see, you have to remember, it's a group of selfish people that come in. Again, remember, they have people that have worked under the faith program and telling the people, go to minister so and collect your money. And watch, some ex-ministers need to learn to sue. Serious. Learn to sue. Only take it to God and pray. Yeah, take it to God and pray. God go deal with it in the court because they should bring them. Because I can't understand how anybody in common sense. Come on. If you want to work it out, let's work it out. Let me pull my calculator here and let me work it out. Because the Prime Minister made a statement at a function and a bunch of people ball out, whoa, watch money. Because he said $6 million passed through the faith program, but $6 million didn't go there and stay there. Because if they had, let me say they had constant 350, they had more at a point in time, but let's say they had constantly 350 people working with them. And we multiplying that by the lowest salary anybody working there was receiving, that is 800. That means that faith had to pay $280,000 a month in salaries. 280 minus the deduction, of course, for NIS that I am absolutely positive they were paying. So 280,000, and if you work that out, multiply that by 12 months, that's 3,360,000. Right? And if you're talking about 2 years, So you multiply that by 2. 6,720,000. And people ball out, why? Because they feel now that $6 million end up in the pocket of some government minister. And that is the impression that the Prime Minister, using his diversionary tactics, used on the unsuspecting Grenadians who was sitting in the audience when he made that statement in the town hall meeting. Why did he not explain that you had X amount of people working? Wait, you think it was one person working inside there? They're saying the same thing about CJs. How much money was given to CJs, and CJs had to manage the 15 constituency offices. And they wouldn't explain the payments that CJs had to make on a monthly basis so you know where that money was going. Because they want to give you the impression that that money was staying in some minister's pocket. Well, if you have the information that the money was staying in some minister's pocket, you have the FIU, you have the Integrity Commission, you have all these agencies, you had the DPP, you have all of them that you could pass the information to and let the chips fall where they may. But you see, they could only fool fools. They could only fool people who doesn't think. They can only fool people when you're only hearing one side of the story. They're in an echo chamber. Which is why they did what they did tonight and tried to report this page. Report the page to get rid of the page. Because they don't want you to hear the story. But here's what. If you get rid of this one, I'll put up 9 others. And I'll run all of them simultaneously. And nothing you can do to get rid of all of them. I'll put up 9 others. Simple. They don't want you to get that information. They want you to listen to the echo chamber. So people hear $6 million. Oh gosh, $6 million. Why didn't tell you how much they get a campaign? And who they get it from? Or they ain't go ask them that in a town hall meeting because they handing people questions to ask in the town hall meeting. They handing people to ask questions in the CBI meeting and the other meetings that they have. They choreographing because they want a particular story to come out. They don't even have the common decency to come out and say on a Tuesday. Last night they didn't even send out a release to say, well, no post-cabinet press briefing today. The only thing you see something come out say the Prime Minister travel. Well, like when the Prime Minister travel, you can't have no post-cabinet. Because like he's the star. He's the only one who could go and do the post-cabinet. Because that man does come and talk about when they go in for him and think about putting people to the bush between 8 to 4. Them kind of craziness. That is the kind of madness. So they're trying to give you the impression, and you know why? Because they know that when they check their numbers and they check their figures and they check the popularity, they know that that particular minister who they keep attacking in St. Andrew, that it ain't easy for them to go and move her. They know it ain't easy for them to be able to beat her in an election. And they also hearing her names in other positive things. So they decide, that is my target, let me attack them. So they start to attack her. And they know what they might be facing. You remember I talk about by-election? When I say by-election, I didn't mean take money and give people to buy an election. You know? I mean by-election as somebody might have to resign. Because they may find themselves facing criminal charges. So they know that there is a likelihood, and not a low one, not a medium one, a very high one, of one of their members who is presently sitting facing criminal charges and may end up having to resign or be put out from Parliament, according to the Constitution. So they know that. So what they start to do? They start to attack certain people in NNP who they see might be a candidate for a particular area. So they see Brother Cox going up in the north, so they start to attack Brother Cox. And then they go and they cut in ribbon and think that Brother Cox talked about since earlier in the year, about the Molyneux project and thing. I'm glad to see the Molyneux project being done. I don't like when I had to go up on the western coast, I had to drive up into Mount Moritz and pass down in the back road, and yeah, that's extra. We could have just make that in 5 minutes you're gone through. Now you have to go up the hill and come wrong and all that sort of thing. I'm glad to see that that project is taking place, and I'm glad to see where it is at right now. But at the same token, give the credit to who did it. It's not you. You didn't do it. You met it in process. You met it taking place. The only program that the NDC has started has been the Send Home program. No other program. So you have Paul Louise out there in Carriacou. Paul Louise. Wheezy. NDC sent her home in 2000. After 2008, they sent her home. Why they sent her home? They say she went to a meeting in New York. There was an NNP meeting and she attended the meeting. And somebody called them down in Carriacou and tell them she attended the meeting. So when she reached back in Carriacou, she got a letter that sent her home. And now they send her home again. They send home people in Carriacou because they saw them in NNP rally wearing NNP t-shirts. But they didn't send home none of their people who was in NDC rallies wearing NDC t-shirts. You see, if you remember Animal Farm, I don't know how many of you read Animal Farm. I remember doing Animal Farm as a teenager in my early teens. I remember having to read Animal Farm. It was one of the books that I did for CXC at that point in time. And if you read Animal Farm, you'll remember that all animals are equal, but some animals seem to be a little more equal than others. Yeah? All animals are equal, but some seem to be a little more equal than others. So if you had on a green t-shirt prior to the election in June, you had on a green t-shirt and you were seen in the vicinity of an NNP activity, they saw that as grounds to send you home. And if you were seen in an NDC activity or wrong an NDC activity and you could have wear the biggest branded NDC t-shirt, they have a problem with that. They leave you. Because they just have to get at those who support the new National Party. But remember, when you're doing these sort of things to Grenadians, you're not just affecting new National Party supporters, you're affecting Grenadians on a whole. That is what is going on. You are affecting Grenadians on a whole. So when you say you're doing things to help poor people and you take up the freight that the businesses are the ones that benefiting from, but you're doing things to help poor people by taking off freight and it go help small businesses, well, the small man, the poorer class, because the cost of items go down. Instead of going down, the cost of items go up. It has to tell you don't know what you're doing. When you technically increase the size of ministries by adding another layer, the transition leads, I think they still calling them transition leads, the transition leads, who each are receiving thousands of dollars a month. And the simple thing is the transition leads are there because the people who they place in the ministry don't know one damn thing about what's going on in a ministry. Some of them have never worked in the public service. In fact, out of all of them, it's only about 2 or 3 that have previously worked at some capacity within the public service. I think the Minister of Agriculture, I think he was in Ministry of Labor at a point in time. Lennox Andrews was in the Ministry of Finance. Dennis Cornwall was in the Ministry of Finance and I think International Trade or something. So I think it's only about them. All the others have not spent time in government, so they don't understand how government runs. So they take transitional leads and they put them in charge. But as I tell you all already, transitions is death news on GBN. So when you have a transition, the transitioning from employed to unemployed, you're transitioning from having money in your bank account to zero. You're transitioning from being healthy to not being healthy because stress take you. And they say they have transition leads. Thousands of dollars a month to transition leads. They like to talk about money. Let's talk about money. Thousands of dollars a month for transition leads. And they take some of the incompetent people who failed their ministries before and put them as transition leads to ministries now. Some of the same people, you know, that failed in a ministry before, they take them and put them as the transitional lead for a ministry. That's what they did. And then these are the same people that's come back and want to say all kind of thing about the NNP, you know. Dr. Mitchell, I remember he took one person as an advisor. Well, it's what did they say? They went up to Mount St. Catherine and shouted for the whole of Grenada to hear. From the hills and valleys, they make real noise. How we could take all this money and pay for advisor and so on. But they take how much advisors and they call them transition leads. They exchange the name. Yeah? Look what they nearly did. Look what incompetence does. And that's why I said the person who's in charge of youth and sport right now is incompetent. I make no excuse for that because they're showing their incompetence. And if they had a competent transition lead to lead them, then they would know that you don't send home all the men working on the fields around the country. Because you have football taking place around the country, you have cricket taking place around the country, and you're coming up to the beginning of the sports season. In fact, the sports season starts already. So that the fields need to be properly cut. But when I watch at one of the fields in St. John's and I see what's going on, when I see what the person who had the contract and it was taken from them and given to a supporter of the NDC, when I see what is taking place in the field, the person who was doing it before, you could tell they were using machines and they were cutting so the grass was well kept and so on. And now when you look at it, it's like if they take a cutlass and cut the grass on the playing field. Chang, 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 chang. All over. Because they are not doing things for the good of the community or the good of the people. They're doing things for the good of themselves and their party. So they didn't understand that, hey, you can't go and send home all the groundsmen in the National Stadium. Why you going to do that? Wagia football. It might have international match in Grenada. You going to send home all the fellas who taking care of the field? You just give them all the chance, send them home, and then you have to come back and take it back. And then after all of that, trying to put the blame on the permanent secretary. Pour the permanent secretary under all you. I want to talk about permanent secretary. Whatever happened to the one? There was a big fanfare when a particular person was placed in the Ministry of Education. Big fanfare. Who's that guy? Yeah, there was a lot of fanfare when a particular individual was placed in the ministry. They came in as PS. They had all kind of pictures. They were all over social media. Yeah. They went in with a bang and they leave with a whimper.
While some others mad, the people they vote for shirting them bad. They just feel to cause them when they see them pass. Or just them
I don't rejoice in anybody's sorrow, you know, but I mean, I'm just asking a question, yeah?
willing to share. Anytime the pressure get too much to bear, I have a new dance, it is the formula. Once you do it, I know you must feel better. So give me a minute.
Oh, let me just give the phone lines again.
To you, just a simple demonstration. It is very easy to learn. Put your hand in the air like this. Close your finger and make a fist. Let go your tongue, put it in the air. Wave it like you ain't care. Anytime you see them MP, do it for them to see. And if they ask you what that means, tell them the dance you're doing is one time.
Yeah, 4407377. And let me make sure the phone lines are clear. 4407377. And 347-329-3101. Those are the numbers for you to call and get onto the inside. So for those of you that joined us late, early up in the program, because I said I would read it again. Early up in the program, I was speaking about the fact that the Grenada Ports Authority has issued a press release regarding the situation on the port, because I'm hearing right now it are vessels in Grenadian waters that if they are not able to offload their cargo, which is the Christmas cargo and all that sort of thing, if they are not able to offload that cargo by tomorrow, they will have to leave Grenadian waters with the cargo that Grenada have, because they have to make the schedule to other countries. So they'd have to go to other countries and then return here at the end of all their journeys, which is another 4 to 5 weeks at least, before they're able to get back to Grenada, which might be after Christmas. So you have businesses that have their stuff on that boat that may not be able to get it. And you have others, and I thought I was getting free barrel this year. Talk about free barrel and that kind of thing,
Tonight, and when you hear they talking about group of four, that is the time that you have to done some more.
So the press release says the Grenada Port Authority seeks the understanding of the general public for the delay in operations, which started yesterday and continues today, as it works through the industrial relations matter that has arisen. And I want you to pay particular attention to this paragraph. Yeah, pay attention to this paragraph. It says, the Grenada Port Authority routinely audits its procedures to ensure compliance and to manage risk. During a recent routine audit, it was discovered that there were some irregularities with the procedure used to authorize exit passes. It was also apparent that the breach in procedure adversely impacted the GPAs and the state of Grenada's revenue, policies, and procedures. Yeah? So you know what that means? That there were people and vehicles, maybe trucks loaded with goods, that were leaving the port authority. They get exit passes, so they get a pass to exit the port at hours that the port was supposed to be closed and nobody was supposed to be exiting. So they were allowed to leave and without paying the duties and so that they were supposed to pay. So it affected the amount of money that the Port Authority, the state of Grenada, was earning. In other words, people just load up the truck or load up the car or take the bag and walk off the Port Authority or drive off the Port Authority without paying what they were supposed to pay. So, in doing an audit, the Grenada Port Authority found that this was happening, and you heard about that earlier in the year because you hear certain name call. Yeah? The matter was referred to an investigative government department for a comprehensive probe, following which a report was submitted to the Grenada Port Authority. Based on the findings, the Grenada Port Authority conducted an internal hearing into the matter with the individual who was central to the breach of procedure, with Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union representation. The GPA is of the view that the actions of the individual were synonymous with gross negligence and was considered a summary offense under the disciplinary provision of the collective bargaining agreement with the Grenada Technical Allied Workers Union. Subsequent to the internal hearing, a decision was made to terminate the employment of the individual based on the severity of the transgression, pursuant to the summary offense protocols enshrined within the said agreement. GPA's action is consistent with the articles, procedures, and principles of the collective bargaining agreement and asserts management's authority to take corrective action when and where necessary. This is to ensure compliance with established operational procedures that minimizes risk to the Grenada Port Authority's operations. The GPA, Grenada Port Authority, regrets the inconvenience caused to the general public and business community at this most inappropriate time. However, management cannot compromise on its fiduciary responsibility to the state of Grenada. The Grenada Port Authority calls on its workers to return to the performance of their duties and to the Grenada Technical and Allied Workers Union to operate under the terms of the collective agreement. I'm very interested in seeing what the Grenada and Technical Allied Workers Union has to say about this situation. Because if it is a situation, as the Port Authority is alleging, that individuals and possibly companies were being allowed to leave the port without paying, and me and you know that if you go and clear a barrel, you have a certain amount of money you have to pay. Sometimes you have to go 2-3 places, you have to go, you have to pay. You pay for your stamp here, you pay for your thing there, you pay for your thing there. And if people were exiting the port without doing that, and you and I had to pay, but they were exiting the port without having to pay that, then we have an issue. Houston, we have a problem. That can't be happening. And they said they did an investigation, and so it's not them just saying so. They said they did an investigation. But what I want to know is who was involved. That's what I want to know. Who were the other parties involved? That's very important. I want to know who they was allowing to leave the port. I want to know if it's car. I want to know if it's bus. I want to know if it is goods laden trucks that were leaving the Grenada Port Authority in the dark of night. Come out and say it. What Port Authority are you afraid of? We don't fire all you for talking the truth. Can't fire all you for talking the truth. Come out and say. Yeah? And I'm very interested in hearing again what Tau has to say about this whole thing. I'm very, very interested in hearing what Tau has to say about this whole thing. Let me say a special good night to my good brethren Zingo.
So much people complaining about the government. I wonder why they complaining when it's only 1 year they spent. They come in and complain to me, which I find strange, because the election victory, majority voted for change. So then I start to wonder, what is some of them seen? Why complain to this fella when they know my color is green? It seems like they don't have patience. That's the reason why. Or something pricking the conscience. They just cannot satisfy. Don't blame me. Don't complain to me. Why complain to me? Change you wanted to see. Oh, don't blame me. Don't complain to me. Why complain to me? Change you wanted to see.
Again, folks, don't forget to share. And remember, no, we're not finishing now. We'll be back on Thursday night as well. We're not on tomorrow night, but we're on Thursday night, right? Night. So it's on Mondays, Tuesdays, and Thursdays. I want to make sure that when they're cussing about the fact that I'm on air, that they get the days correct and get the time correct too. It's between 8 and 10. And make sure that they get the page too. Don't say it's on the NNP page. It's on Talking Points GND on Facebook. Right? And you could find it. Just look for Talking Points and you won't get it on YouTube as well. So I want them to make sure and get it correct. Help me advertise. Speak about me some more. And let me tell you all this. I just hear that somebody was talking about me today. You know, I don't listen nonsense, so I didn't have time to listen to them, and I would not listen to them. I don't pay attention to that stupidness. Yeah? Because it's easy to know when people jealous you in life. It's easy to know that. They try to bring you down as much as possible, so I doesn't worry with them. Alright? But just remember, we want to find out if it had trucks leaving the port in the night, and that is why the woman lose her job. And if she lose her job, where she getting her job now? Might she get one close on the carnage? Might she get one in a new ministry? Might she get, where she go get one? We want to find out if the woman losing her job, if the industrial action does not result in her retaining her job because she has been found in wrongdoing. Yeah? Want to find out if certain people go offer a job. If certain people trucks used to be leaving in the darkness at night of the port without paying. You understand? We just want to know. We're asking questions. That's what we want to know. Yeah? They just want to know things. We want to know things too. Alright? Keisha, a special good night. Keisha will be dropping some serious info in between in that chat there, you know, brother. So Keisha, I want to say a special good night to you as well. Yeah? Well, yeah, just know they might want to talk about that too. Because they're grasping at any straws because they know what they are facing. Don't look at what's taking place over there in Ukraine and so just as that, you know. It's a serious, serious thing that's taking place over there. And there's serious consequences for us as a small island state due to what is taking place there. Yeah? So we have to keep alert about what is going on around us and even further afield. We have to make sure that we keep in touch and understand what's taking place. So let me just get this one. I'm not sure. Let me see which one of the lines. Okay, I think I have the right one now. And we have a call online. Good night.
Hey, Sheldon. How are you doing?
Hey, I'm quite fine.
Good, good, good. Well, at least we start again.
Hey, my partner. The boss himself, man.
At least we've begun to do what it's time to do. I think I can't say the name I want to say. I think they've had enough time to show what they're made of. Not that we didn't know. And I think now is the time that we pull them up and ask them to answer a few questions, because they have been running wild and acting as if they're God's gift to Grenada, when in fact they're just a curse, a bad curse. And it's sad that we are repeating what was repeated in 2004, that we take another bunch of incompetents, think of themselves, don't know anything good about Grenada, and know anything good for Grenada, and put them again to ruin the country. Not to run the country, but ruin the country. You could say what you want about me and Sheldon. We know that this bunch of are not going to be able to do what they tell you they're going to do. We know also that the quicker we get them out, I'm talking that already, because you see, Grenada is not a schoolyard thing. Grenada is not about schoolyard politics. Grenada is about the lives of people, and this is way into the 21st century, and we have so much more strides to make, and we can't continue allowing incompetent, selfish, power-hungry individuals continue to ruin our country. And so, Sheldon, I think you have my number still. You can call me when you need to call me.
I always need to call you, As I've been saying, my brother, we have read this book before. And the good thing with a book is that you don't put a book on the shelf and when you take it down, the chapters change around, That doesn't happen.
It's the same thing.
It's the exact same thing 400 years, 500 years from now. You get that book, it's going to end the same way. So we know how this book is going to end already.
Yeah, that's a sad thing, though, because we have a country that is caught in the middle of it.
Yeah.
So I was just giving you my support and let you know I'm listening, and you know where to find me.
Yes, my brother.
All right.
So thank you very much. All right.
All right.
Yes, indeed, folks. Just a reminder, phone numbers 440-7377. And don't worry, it's online right now, but you're going to hear it on radio very, very soon. You're going to be hearing it on radio too. So right now, we're just online, but you're going to hear us on radio sooner rather than later. So the overseas line, 347-329-3101. And those of you here on Grenada, 440-7377. We will have the WhatsApp line activated. We're trying to get it by Thursday. If we don't have it by Thursday, it'll be activated by Monday. We'll have the WhatsApp line activated so that you can call and get us on WhatsApp. Because not everybody want to make a direct call. Some they want to make a call via WhatsApp as well. And you all could realize I haven't been doing a lot of talking for the last few months. Yeah, sometimes you have to sit back and listen, I see. Well, listen, as we reach on that now, I was listening the 100 days discussion, and I was wondering if I went to school in August after 6 in the evening, because I heard a set of things being mentioned as achievements that were not done yet. So if the payments, the $44.1 million that the government says has been paid today into the accounts of the people who have gone into the pension secretariat and they've had the correct documentation and so, if that $44.1 million has been paid, right, as they have promised it's going to be paid, now you can claim that as an achievement. Not that the New National Party wasn't going to pay the pension, because there's some misunderstanding and some misinformation that was put out there, and constantly circulated that the NNP wasn't going and pay the pension, NNP wasn't going and pay pension, NNP was... The New National Party said they would abide by the court ruling and pay the pension. But they said the exact same thing that you heard the Honorable Minister of Labour saying, Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph. You see, we're different here. I ain't go just come and call her by she first name or something. It's Senator the Honorable Claudette Joseph, isn't it? Right. When she said that how they need to speak to the unions because it's not something it could continue in the way that it is structured. Because remember, for public workers, they are not paying into a pension scheme. All the rest of us who are working, we pay into the national insurance scheme, so we're paying something. I think that's what the revolution was trying to correct when they came up with the national insurance scheme. Because remember, when the 1958 Pension Act was put in place, you didn't have 500 people good within the public service in Grenada. So you could afford to say that how you're going to pay that out of government coffers. You could have afforded to say you're going to pay a gratuity and you're going to pay a pension, you're going to pay all of that out of government coffers. But now you have a public service that's into the thousands. So it means that as more and more people retire and people live for longer, the longer a person lives, it may sound sort of thing, but the longer a person lives means the longer you have to pay pension to that individual. So the more and more people come into the system and the longer that people live, it means that you have to find more monies to pay pension on a monthly basis. And you will reach breaking point. You will reach a point that your country is unable to continue with the payments. You're gonna have to get rid of something. You may have to get rid of a program that you have. You may have to get rid of something. There is no way that you're going to end up being able to pay people who are under a non-contributory program and still be able to run your country. So that is what the revolution was trying to correct. The revolution wasn't wrong. They may have been wrong in the way that they went about it, but they were not wrong in what they were trying to do by correcting what they perceived to be a wrong. That people should be paying a little something out of their salary over the years of working and so that when the time comes that you're going to receive a pension out of that fund, because whatever money you put inside of there, they're going to take that and they're going to reinvest it. When you put your money into NIS, when you pay NIS doesn't just leave your money there. NIS takes your money and they invest it in other places to make your dollar into $1,000. So that when the time comes to pay you, they're able to pay you. And that is how the NIS was structured. They don't just take your money and rest it there and you put in $15 this month and they put the $15 and when you get to a certain age, they give you back the $15. No, they take that $15, they invest it, and they try to make more money out of that $15. Either they buy treasury bills and bonds and different things that mature at a particular time so that they can make money. So that when the time comes, they're able to handle the responsibilities of the people that they have to handle responsibilities for. So that is what takes place when it comes to the NIS. But when it comes to the pension plan, as it is the 1958 pension plan, government has to find the money by whatever means, whether they take a loan, whatever they do. They have to find the money to make sure that they pay the pensions. So now you've come with the retroactive payments and gratuity. So that's being paid. And congratulations to all of the people. In total, the Ministry of Finance anticipates a payout of $75 million to 525 eligible retirees. 575 people. They're going to share up $75 million between 525 people. And remember, yes, they worked and they sacrificed and everything, but it was not a situation that these 525 people were contributing towards that 75 million that's there. They also are going to qualify, remember, for the NIS. So they're going to get their NIS payments as usual. In addition to this is why the New National Party at top was saying the best direction to go is to top up what's being given through the NIS. But then unions refuse. Unions say they want to come and talk. They say just pay the pension. We ain't going and talk. Now you see the Honorable Senator Claudette Joseph saying, well, come and talk to us now. Come and talk to us. We want to sit with you and talk to you about how we move forward because it is not sustainable. You look at what happened to countries like Greece and these different countries and so when it came to the issue of pension and being able to pay a pension on a monthly basis and what it did to those countries, especially when it's a non-contributory pension. So they're saying to the unions, we need to talk, we need to discuss this thing because it is not something that we'll be able to maintain. Remember again, and that's the main point you need to remember in relation to this issue. When the 1958 Act was put in place, you didn't have 1,000 people working for the government of Grenada. You had probably about 400 or 500 at the most that were working for the government of Grenada. Now you probably have 400 or 500 in the ministerial complex part of it alone. Much less you have teachers, you have police, you have nurses, you have different people in different areas, the farm officers, all these people all over. All of them are working directly with the government of Grenada. And these people, you heard the Prime Minister as well now saying that they're going to have to discuss with some category of workers a new mechanism to ensure that they receive a pension. They didn't tell them that before election, you know. They're telling them that no, when these people thought that they'd be sharing out of that 75 million, now they're telling them. Now they're telling them, we're going to have a discussion with you all and see how we could work out something now to pay you all something on a monthly basis. When the NNP has already said what the best option is. Use the contributory pension because they say, oh, people wasn't getting a pension. You got a pension through the NIS. It was not the 1958 pension, but you were still getting a pension, but through the NIS. And the NNP's way of dealing with that was that you could top up to 70% at the last salary that the person worked for, so that person could get that in the, so they get what they was getting from the NIS, and NNP government had put whatever additional money had to put to make sure that that person was getting 70% at the last salary. That is what you did. That is what you did. But when that was being said, a lot of people break stick in the ears. Because you see, they started listening to people that said, don't listen. And a lot of them still listening to people that saying, don't listen. But you need to listen to all sides. A lot of people out there believe that they were getting pension. A lot of them. 75 million, they don't get a cent. But they jump up, they wind up, they roll up, they all kind of thing. Well, I'm getting my pension, I'm so happy. But they didn't qualify. Because they buy water in basket. By the time they reach home, all they had was a wet basket. They did not listen when the NNP was talking to them. Because see, some people, and let me get it straight, some people tend to attack the NNP as a political party and say, NNP didn't used to put out enough information, or the government, the NNP as a government didn't used to put out enough information. That is not true. The problem was that people generally just ignored it. You had the national report coming out. And all the things you're seeing NDC running and saying they're doing right now, all of that come out in national report over the last 2 years. Be it the Molyneux project, be it the firehouse that has been built in St. David that just now you go here, they say Deacon Bill. Yeah, the firehouse. And when the fire truck reach, you go here, they say achievement of the National Democratic Congress. We put a fire truck in St. David and we build a firehouse in St. David. Just like they're doing when they go and they turn on the lights in Volée. And disrespectfully, you can't be talking unity. And you don't even have the respect to tell the man who was responsible for putting the lights in Volée to come and even though you don't want him to put it on because you're the MP. But you could at least say, well, attend the ceremony to see it being put on. Nothing of the like. And then these are the people that will come and tell you about we have to join together to build the country. NNPites, here's what, You get registered. You make sure that you get everybody over the age of 18 registered. Make sure that you keep in touch with the 13-year-olds, the 14-year-olds, the 15-year-olds, the 16-year-olds, the 17-year-olds, and the 18-year-olds. Make sure that you keep in touch with them, because you see what they're doing. When school reopen, they end up in all the school. You feel they end up there just so? You think that all of the cabinet members of the NDC end up at all the secondary schools just like that? They are trying to influence the young people who will be first-time voters the next time around, because they know they can't bet on the first-time voters who vote for them this time around, because they already disappoint them. So you have to make sure. You have to make sure that you engage them and that you keep them close. You have to make sure and ensure that when the time comes for these people, young people, to be registered, they are registered. But also, you have to remind them. You have to tell them, because somebody who is 13 years old right now don't know nothing about what took place in Grenada after Hurricane Ivan. A first-time voter this last election here ain't know nothing about Grenada back in the year 2000 or 2001, 2000, they know nothing about that. So you have to have the responsibility to keep in touch with them and inform them and let them know. Because a lot of them were tricked this time around, because they didn't know the history. They didn't know the background. They look at face value. They find people have a pretty face. So they went and they vote for them because they find they have a pretty face. And even though they might be same age with me, they say they're young. I young. I find I young. So they went out in their droves and they vote. And nobody is vexed with somebody because you went and you vote for a particular political party. The New National Party is not an organization that's going to upset with a person because they went and they vote for party A or party B. No. At the point in time, you made a decision based on the information in front of you. The information could have been wrong, but you made a decision based on the information that was in front of you. So nobody can upset with you for that. Folks, that's all the time we have for tonight. We'll be back on Thursday night with more talking points. So just remember, when they go in and talk about the program, remember it's talking points. We're on Facebook, we're on YouTube, and we have our website. Right? We have our website as well, Talking Points Grenada. You could find our website and so. Right. Nice. So make sure that when they mention it's on Monday between 8 to 10. Tuesday between 8 to 10 and Thursday between 8 to 10. If they give me bad, I start to do a Wednesday and Friday too, you know. All right, so that's all the time we have. And we'll be doing a repeat at 10 a.m. in the morning. You could tune in and we'll be doing a repeat of tonight's program at 10 a.m. in the morning. So, you know, it's that time when I get I get a bottle of water. It's time to drink some water and to get out of here. It's now 10 p.m. on the Isle of Spice where everything is nice. Folks, love each and every one of you. I am out.
You promise one public service. Everybody will be made permanent. Nobody going home. Take Susu in you. I don't believe in superstition. Something wrong with the transformation. From the 10 boys drink the water. Strange thing happening in Grenada. 3 houses born in Victoria. 2 born in St. David soon after. David Anderson and his brother. We had suicide and murder. Who tell them drink the water? The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, like they put a spell on Grenada. They wrong to drink the water. The transformation water. From the time they drink the water, they start to reverse Grenada. Pitimatic, Carico.